I know that I know Rexel are going through upskilling of the networks. I've seen Tech Talk promotions on LinkedIn. But you just a minute ago you said that the expectations are more clearly understood in other regions. So how have they done that?
Well, I think again it's about, you have to get past that trust bit.
Right.
You know, it is the bit that says, I'm a contractor, so let's keep it non-controversial. So I'm a contractor A, and I want more from the wholesaler. To get more from the wholesaler, I have to be prepared to open up more about my business, the opportunities I have, the opportunities I see, and the need for my chosen wholesaler, let's call them B, that we don't do in the UK. We want to have a conversation, but it's kind of restricted. It's very much, well, I'll tell you something, but I won't tell you everything.
Right.
And globally, there's more willingness, there's more openness around, what potential jobs you've got, what you're quoting for, rather than quoting for it and then expecting the wholesaler suddenly miraculously to have, enough stock for 5 years. Well, we don't. We're no different as a business from any other business at the moment. Is if we don't know what's coming down the pipe, the chances are we won't be prepared to help you with it. So with other countries, there seems a more willingness to be more forward-looking.
Right.
All the contractors who watch this will probably hate me, but we still invariably find a situation where everything's last minute. Yeah. I've won this job, I've got this big job, I need X, Y, Z by Friday. And that's just not practical these days. It's more challenging than that. So I think it still comes back to, and I'm already in my head sounding like a broken record. It's about trust. Yeah. It's about trust and it's about openness. And are we really prepared as an industry to embrace that? Or do we just want to talk about it?
Okay. Do you think there's an element of that then that's, a couple of elements of it. So again, just before we started recording, you were given an example scenario of, I'll say justifying a decision. I don't think that's quite as extreme as that, but and you gave the quote that was essentially, I don't know why we do things that way, but we just do. Mm-hmm. So do you think we're stuck, and do you think there's an element of that classic stiff upper lip Britishness?
Are we stuck? I think as an industry, I mean, again, this is my throwaway cliche line that will probably come back to haunt me, right, and several people after me. I have always described the electrical industry as proud to be in the 20th century. Right. Yeah. Okay. The fact that we're in the 21st century seems to escape most of us. Mm-hmm. Whether that's driven by a stiff upper lip, I think, politics aside, so this isn't related to political parties, by the way, but I think the UK as a whole is a very conservative country. Mm-hmm. It's traditionalist. Yeah. It's proud of its values. It's proud of its heritage, or it certainly was. When I was growing up. And as a result of that, we tend to look at things as the way they are and the way they should be. So, for example, so much of it is still British standard, even when we were part of the European Union. Yeah. Yeah. There was still a reluctance to have the foreign stuff. Yeah. So the standards still had to stay British standards, although we were part of the European Union. The change in cable colours, core colours, from the traditional British colours to the European harmonised was like a nightmare. Right. Why would we change? Yeah. Yeah. We had an environment where we needed to run with both types, old and new, because people were reticent to go to brown, blue, green, yellow, having been red, black, and green. Yeah. So, I think there's an element of traditionalist in it, and I think it's probably a very traditionalist industry. I mean, one of your guests, an old friend of mine, Chris Gibson, did allude to the fact that it's a very male-dominated industry still today.
Yeah.
And whilst men are running it, they tend to be on the traditionalist side.
Right.
He also talked about how a lot of the old guard or the old people, include me in that comment, by the way, are leaving the industry.
Yeah.
You can view that one or two ways. You could view that in a negative sense, that you're losing all of this experience. But you can also view it from a positive way, that you are bringing younger people into the industry, and younger people are taking up more and more senior positions. And by younger people, generally, I mean younger than me. So I don't necessarily mean teenagers or people in their early 20s.
Yeah.
But nevertheless, they are people with a different viewpoint and perhaps a different undertaking. They may understand the industry that we managed to operate all these years. They may want to replicate it. They may want to change it considerably. We'll come on to digitalization and its impact on the business. But is it a traditional stiff upper lip British? I think there's a degree. There has to be. You cannot look on a global scale and say the UK is an exception and not imply that it's character driven. Yeah, it's culturally driven. So we're good at something. Why change it? Why risk it? So yes, I think some of it is you'll need a cultural change. You won't get that in the country because the country is traditionalist by nature. Yeah. The industry is probably behind other industries within this country. So you can't blame everything on the culture of the country and the stiff upper lip. It's driven by the industry that we're in, and that reluctance to innovate or change dramatically, or where we do have to change, to model it on what we did. Yeah. So we might have systems that are different from years ago, but culturally we still operate them the same way.
Okay.